Call the public hearing in the city of Washington, February 28, 2022 to order, please. On the agenda tonight, request to vacate an easement in the South Park subdivision in the city of Washington, Indiana. Do we have anybody here that wants to speak on this topic? Okay. Any questions at all on this? Okay. All right, and hearing none, we're going to close this public hearing at 6:34. Okay. We call the meeting to order of the City of Washington Common Council, February 28, 2022. Can we have a moment of silence for our veterans, please? Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Lunsford.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Gress.
Here.
Councilman Hampton.
Here.
Councilman Emmons.
Here.
Councilman Dahl.
Here.
Councilman Showalter.
Here.
Okay.
All present.
All present, thank you. Approval of minutes of the February 14th, 2022 public hearing and regular meeting. Anybody have any comments or concerns on the minutes?
I move we approve them as written.
Did you have something on that meeting?
We'll talk about after this.
Okay. Councilman All makes a motion to approve as written. Councilman Showalter seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Councilman Lunsford, need to abstain.
Abstain.
And last meeting,
And
Councilman Brown.
Rex, I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tom, I mean.
And Rex. Last meeting, Councilman Brown should have abstained by approving those minutes of the January 24th because he wasn't here. So I just wanted that noted in the minutes for the meeting before councilman approved the minutes. So we got to
Okay. All right. Written presentation of the claims in front of you tonight. Do you have any comments, concerns about the claims in front of you?
I see we got a lot of land, is that from the highway?
Yes, I think, I didn't count exactly how many, but yes, there's several of those in there this time.
Probably just for starters, or-
No, we had 16 at the last council meeting prior to this, and,
I think there's another 17 or 19 at this, for this one.
yeah.
Some of them are more than one check, their properties are divided up in maybe 3 checks for one, or,
I think there was a total of close to 60.
yes, 60.
Altogether.
66
And-
parcels altogether.
Some of them got delayed because looking for the correct address on some of these commercial businesses especially. Any other questions on the claims tonight?
Make a motion to approve them and send to the board.
Okay, Councilman Gress makes a motion to approve the claims and send to the board of works for a final approval. Councilman Emmons seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, comments by the members of the public other than what's on the agenda tonight? Yes.
I just want to thank the fire department for coming down and putting out the fire this morning. They called me, the guys called me 12:49, and by the time I got there, which is 5 blocks there, they had it under control. They done a really good job.
Yeah. Okay,
If you tell them
I'll pass that on. There's not a member here tonight, but I'll pass that on to them.
Thank you.
Yes. Anything else? Any other comments? Okay. All right, moving on to resolutions. We got reading of resolution 5-2022.
I'll make a motion to read that resolution.
Okay, Councilman Kemper makes a motion to read this resolution. Do I have a
Second.
second by Councilman Dahl, all in favor? Opposed?
Resolution number 5-2022
A preliminary resolution of the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana, approving real property tax abatement. Simplified Developments LLC, doing business as Rhinebeck Homes. Whereas Simplified Developments and the affiliate thereof is pursuing the construction of an apartment project in the City of Washington to be located on the property described in the map attached here to as Exhibit A and incorporated herein by reference and at the address set forth in Exhibit A. And whereas the company has requested that the real property be designated an economic revitalization area for purposes of permitting real property tax deductions pursuant to IC 6-1.1-12.1 as amended. And whereas the company has further requested that the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana approve a 5-year real property tax deduction schedule for the project. And whereas the company has advised the council that the project will involve significant investment in real property redevelopment or rehabilitation. And whereas the company submitted to the council a Form SB1 real property statement of benefits in connection with the project and provided all information and documentation necessary for the council to make an informed decision. And whereas the council is authorized under the provisions of IC 6-1.1-12.1-1 et sec. to designate areas in the town as an ERA for the purposes described herein. And whereas the council has considered the statement submitted by the company and has conducted a complete and proper investigation of the real property and determined that the area qualifies as an ERA under Indiana statutes. And whereas the council has considered the following factors under IC 6-1.1-12.1-17 in connection with the project. 1, the total amount of the company's investment in real and personal property under the project. 2, the number of new full-time equivalent jobs to be created under the project. 3, the average wage of the new employees under the project compared to the state minimum wage. 4, the infrastructure requirements for the company's investment under the project. Collectively, the deduction schedule factors. Now therefore it is found, determined, and resolved by the council as follows. 1, that the estimate of the value of the redevelopment or rehabilitation of the real property is reasonable for projects of that nature. 2, that the value of the construction of improvements as a result of the project creates benefits of the type and quality anticipated by the council within the ERA and can reasonably be expected to result from the proposed project in the redevelopment or rehabilitation of the real property. 3, that the benefits described in the statement can reasonably be expected to result from the proposed redevelopment or rehabilitation of the real property. 4, that the totality of benefits from the proposed redevelopment or rehabilitation of the real property is sufficient to justify a real property tax deduction period and schedule as set out herein. 5, that the deduction schedule factors in connection with the project justify granting the deduction schedule for real property under IC 6-1.1-12.1-17 as specified herein. Now therefore, based on the foregoing, the council further resolves, finds, and determines. 1, that all of the conditions for the designation of the ERA and all of the requirements for the tax deductions to be granted hereby have been met, and the foregoing findings are true, and all information required to be submitted has been submitted in proper form. 2, that the statement submitted by the company is hereby approved. 3, that the real property is hereby designated as an ERA pursuant to IC 6-1.1-12.1-1 et sec. And the company is entitled to real property tax deductions for the proposed redevelopment or rehabilitation of real property as part of the project for a period of 5 years as allowed in IC 6-1.1-12.1-4 in accordance with the following abatement schedule hereby adopted pursuant to IC 6-1.1-12.1-17. And basically it's a 100% abatement for each of the first 5 years. 4, that notice hereof should be published according to law stating the following. The adoption and substance hereof, a copy of the description of the affected area is available for inspection in the county assessor's office, and the date on which the council will hear and receive remonstrances and objections and take final action, all as required by law. 5, that the resolution shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage by the Washington Common Council in such publications as may be required by law. 6, that the council shall cause certified copies of this resolution to be filed with the Davis County Auditor and the Davis County Assessor. Passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana, this 28th day of February, 2022.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any questions?
I know that they're listed way down at the bottom, another business. I mean, can we leave that up to maybe talk now and then before we vote on this?
We could. I don't see why we could. Is that all right with everyone? Okay. Okay, I'd like to talk on this tax abatement. I mean, Brian?
Sure, yeah. Good evening, everyone. So you heard the resolution, and if you'll all recall from our meeting a couple of weeks ago, we introduced the overall concept of working with Reinbrecht Homes, the folks at Simplified Developments, for their new development, Cypress Point Apartments here in Washington. As part of the proposal that we have in front of you, or that we had in front of you here a couple of weeks ago, is that we would be working with Reinbrecht. They were looking at about a $14.5 million investment, 143 new apartments, right? With one of those units of the 144 originally being an exercise room, I think community amenity, right? Leasing office and such. So what we proposed at the meeting here a couple weeks ago was a 5-year, 100% tax abatement on each of the buildings. There's 6 buildings in total. And then an about $800,000 bond issue in total, that we had Jason Semler with Baker Tilly, and we had Tom Pittman with Barnes and Dornberg here to provide you with that overview. Essentially what we have in front of you today is the tax abatement component. So we have the declaratory resolution, which is the first step of a 2-step process, essentially. Really because, not to get into the nuances of tax abatement, but anything other than industrial, you have to go through a separate process with the Economic Development Commission, and we'll have another meeting between this meeting and the March, is it 14th?
Yes.
Yes, March 14th City Council meeting, in which you will approve the confirmatory resolution. You'll have that in front of you, right? And then you'll have the public hearing as well. Alan, I know you had that question here at the meeting these past couple weeks. So 5-year, 100%, you heard the schedule. What you have in front of you is the declaratory resolution. Phil Reinbrecht is here to answer any questions on the project, and I'm here to answer any questions on the process and the incentive proposed. So, any questions?
Any questions for Phil or Brian, either one?
Thoughts, comments?
Just on the application that, about the dollar amount of taxes that would be abated, is that a 9 or a 4?
Is that my handwriting?
Yeah, it's in somebody's handwriting.
Sure.
It's
Which
the
page are
2%.
you looking at?
It's number 21 on the handwritten part.
Oh,
And it's the 2% rate of 5.1 million. I'm assuming that's gonna be the 4, I'm assuming. I just wanna make sure.
yeah.
Is that 918,000?
Yes.
Thank you. I just
And
wanna
we
make
have,
sure.
we have all of that in the analysis that Baker Tilly proposed, and we can share that all with you. But as I was talking with Mr. Campton, Councilman Campton earlier, you know, this project, we designed it as such. The mayor and I met with Reinbrecht multiple times, consulted Baker Tilly, consulted Barnes and Thornburg on the best way to structure this type of deal, and quite honestly, looking at what comparable communities of our size are doing as it relates to forming public-private partnerships to incentivize housing. And this is exactly what many of our other communities, our peer communities, are doing. Essentially, the project is entirely self-performing, right? So based on their investment and those taxes generated from that investment is what, you know, we're putting back into the project. But not only with taxes, right, the property taxes generated, but also the city of Washington. You all are in a very unique position with owning all of your utilities with the exception of gas. So that's 143 new ratepayers as well that you're going to be bringing on. So we ran through our gross costs, gross expected revenue from that, not the net revenue. That was a bit more difficult to calculate, but essentially all the utilities are right there at the site. We'll just need to work with Reinbrecht on extending those into the site, which is where that bond comes in. So. Any questions? Thoughts? No? All right. Thank you all.
Okay, anything else? If not, can we have a motion for adoption?
Also move. Second.
Okay, Councilman Dahl makes a motion for adoption, second by Councilman Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, this resolution is adopted.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for coming. Okay, moving on to ordinances. Final reading of ordinance number 2-2022 entitled an ordinance amending compensation ordinance number 18-2021 of the city of Washington, Indiana.
I'll make a motion to read that ordinance.
Councilman Kington makes a motion to read this by title only. Second. Second by Councilman Dahl. All in favor? Opposed?
Ordinance number 2-2022, an ordinance amending compensation ordinance number 18-2021 of the city of Washington, Indiana.
Okay. Any questions? Further questions on this?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Okay, and Councilman Kempton makes a motion to approve this ordinance. Councilman Showalter seconds. And roll call vote, please.
Councilman Lunsford,
Aye.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Gress,
Aye.
Councilman Campton,
Aye.
Councilman Evans,
Aye.
Councilman Dahl,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Okay,
Unanimous.
okay, this ordinance is approved. Next, we have a final reading of ordinance 3-2022.
Make a motion to read it by title only.
Okay, Councilman Shore makes a motion to read by title only. Second by Councilman Brown, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tim?
Ordinance number 3-2022, an ordinance vacating a utility easement in Sundale Park subdivision.
Okay, any questions or on this ordinance?
I'll make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Councilman Campton makes a motion to approve this ordinance. Councilman Emmons seconds. All roll call vote, please.
Councilman Lunsford,
Aye.
Councilman Brown,
Aye.
Councilman Gress,
Aye.
Councilman Campton,
Aye.
Councilman Evans,
Aye.
Councilman Dahl,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter.
Aye.
Okay, this ordinance will be approved.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been a long time. Okay, next we have final reading of ordinance 4-2022.
I'll make a motion to read that ordinance
Okay,
by title
Councilman
only.
Campton makes a motion to read by title only. Second by Councilman Brown. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Tim?
Ordinance number 4-2022 as amended, an ordinance revising chapter 91 of the city of Washington Code of Ordinances.
Okay.
And clarification, as amended means just carving out the saddle clerk, is that correct?
Well, there's more to it than that. As amended includes the change at section 91.02A3, which adds a line basically saying that an individual can request a waiver of the requirement in that section. Let me find it here. This is basically,
This was the last one you sent me.
yeah. Basically, it's a change with regard to not being able to replace an animal that has died and sold or is no longer there.
Could you read what the language is now?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here. I sent it to Beth this morning, I've got them mixed up.
Okay.
Here we go. Section 9102A, number 3, properly registered non-domesticated animals in a residentially zoned area of Washington may not be replaced after they have been sold, traded, or given away, or after the death of the animal. We added a sentence, a waiver of this provision may be available under section 9102B. And 9102B is a completely new subsection, which basically reads as follows. Waiver of requirements of section 9102A3. An individual or organization which is impacted by the requirement to not replace non-domesticated animals who are grandfathered in by this ordinance may request a waiver of that requirement by filing a request for a waiver of this prohibition as to the affected property with the Animal Control Board. The Animal Control Board shall consist of one representative from the Animal Control Department, one city council person, and one member of the Board of Zoning Appeals. Examples of such organizations might include the Washington Saddle Club, the Davies County 4-H grounds, and similar property. To be granted a waiver of this prohibition, a majority of the Animal Control Board must find all three of the following facts to be true by preponderance of the evidence. A, the applicant has a long-standing practice of engaging in raising, breeding, harboring, and caring for non-domesticated animals on the same property. B, the applicant has a history of maintaining a clean facility and controlling noxious odors by properly cleaning up after the animals. And C, compliance with all other requirements of section 9102A5, A and B will be observed. And those requirements are that all such animals must be kept in a fenced area, no part of which is closer than 150 feet from the owner's property line. And B, no less than 2 acres per each horse and no less than 1 acre per head of cattle. Similarly, no less than 1 acre per 2 goats or swine. Chickens and other poultry should be restricted to no more than 10 per acre. So those are the amended sections since the first reading.
Yes, Bob.
I'd like to speak on this. My concern is, and I know you made some changes there, but we've had this property in our family had livestock, horses, and 4-H animals for 35 years. We've had it fenced and had it born there for 35 years. I guess my question is, are we grandfathered in, or are we still required to go before the board to ask permission to have our animals? I'd like to kind of clarify that. Also, there are situations because of the fact that, this ordinance wasn't in place, our fence is not 150 foot from our property line, and we have 3 horses on approximately 2.5 acres. So I just was concerned about if this passes, whether or not I would still be able to have my animals that I've had for the last 35 years. And
Not the same one.
not the same ones, and that's the point, that in 35 years, we've had animals die, we've replaced them, we've had animals born, so, am I still able to keep the existing as it is? And also, my grandkids have 4-H animals. They won't this year, they did for the last 2 or 3 years, and would like to probably next year, but am I still going to be allowed to bring in livestock for the 4-H show, generally starting in March through July? So that's just the questions I have with this ordinance.
To answer your first question, yes, you are grandfathered in.
Does that mean I still have to apply for a
Yes, for a
variance?
waiver to add additional animals or to have new 4-H animals, that sort of thing, but not every time. I mean, basically, you need to file a waiver with the board, have one hearing, prove those 3 things are true, and if 2 of the 3 board members, find that there's a preponderance of evidence that those 3, that all those things are true, then the one waiver is all you need.
Okay, as far as the fencing,
Well, again, I think that's part of the waiver.
okay.
But is that they would have to make a positive step of coming before this board to be grandfathered in.
No, they would be grandfathered in anyway.
Just
But I
like
guess my
everything
thinking
else.
is you just as well get the waiver right up front and be done with it, rather than every time a horse dies, or, you know what I'm saying? Every
Right.
time you go to bring in a new one,
But wouldn't
one
the-
time.
But wouldn't the language of C complicate that on the 9102B, that he has to be in compliance with all the other, that he has to have 2 acres per horse?
No, that's part of the waiver.
That part, right?
Pardon? That's the part he's grandfathered in on.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, I thought you had to meet all three. Yeah.
So would it be the waiver or the grandfathered in with the fence? Be the grandfathered in? with
That's
the
grandfathered in.
grandfathered
That's grandfathered in.
Correct.
And the replacements of the animals would be grandfathered in also?
No, not the
That's for
replacements,
the
that's what I
waiver.
need the waiver.
The waiver would cover that.
Get the waiver right up front, you know, basically right after this, well, you gotta register all
Right,
the
right.
animals first. And then file your request for a waiver and have the board approve it, and at that point, you're done and filed for anything. Does that make sense? I
You can
mean,
replace.
sorry, I don't mean to.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, you can have anything
This
different or
specific
whatever,
case
that's
came
fine, you guys
up,
haven't even been a
and it
problem
occurred to me
anyways, so
that-
it's
Yeah.
not even gonna be an
We
issue.
talked about
I'm just telling you right now, it won't even be an issue,
So I
but,
tried to do what I
the
could
waiver
to
will also
be
keep
able
people
to
from
make
being,
those
well,
kinds
they
of,
have them.
And
So I
had
could say, no,
problem
they've got the
raising that
waiver
motion.
and they
Now,
are,
there's
they
a little
are,
wording in there that concerns me a little bit. It says that if an animal dies, then you're not allowed to bring in any other non-domesticated animals. Well, I've looked a lot in
Domestic.
researching this, and as far as I see, horses, cattle, sheep,
they're all domestic.
dogs and cats are all domesticated animals. So, you know, my thought is maybe that term should say livestock instead of undomesticated animals, because,
And then we got poultry.
yeah, you got poultry, and they're
I mean,
domestic.
it's you get down a, just.
I mean, we could-
So
yeah,
when
you
it says that I cannot bring in non-domesticated animals, okay, but the horse is basically considered a domesticated animal.
Yeah, but that's spelled out in the ordinance too, though, specifically, the horses
Our definition of that, a horse is livestock
Right.
in this ordinance.
Yeah, this ordinance defines that
Well,
as
and I think Bob's
livestock.
point is that using non-domesticated, that, I looked it up after Bob talked to me the other day, that's tigers and raccoons and things like that,
Lions and tigers and bears.
not livestock.
I got raccoons in my field.
So.
We'd have a whole different special license for that than me.
I have it, it's in my gun.
No, yeah, people have them, yeah,
The
people have
replacement
them.
should say livestock,
Skunks,
maybe
yeah,
instead
people
of
have skunks.
non-domesticated animals.
Okay. Mhm.
Maybe that would clarify it, I don't know, but that, I just had that question about it because, you know, basically, yeah, livestock,
I don't have an answer. I mean,
yeah,
if you all want to change the language, that's fine by me, let me know.
it's not a pet, but it's also a domesticated animal. That's what I'm trying to
Then you
say.
also got poultry, and you have other
Right,
things, you
right.
know, it's just, it's hard to incorporate everything without just putting a specific definition down, and that's what I tried to do. Our
So,
definition may not jive with Webster's, but it's the
But that's our
definition.
interpretation of it, I feel like, and that's what we're gonna go off of. So our interpretation of it is more or less livestock, which is what you're referring to. So when somebody comes to me and says they have a non-domesticated animal and they wanna register it, that will fill all of those in, you know, I mean,
so basically, I guess my question would be, if this ordinance passes and I do get a waiver, and my horse dies and I want to replace it,
You've already got your waivers.
I've got my waiver, but then is my fence still okay?
Yeah. that's
Where it's
part-
at?
that's Part of what's
Okay.
grandfathered in, yes.
So my size of my pasture would still, even though it's not 2 acres per animal,
Correct.
Right.
it'd still be
Still
sufficient.
good.
Okay,
grandfathered in.
Because you're grandfathered.
okay.
Yeah.
That's-
So if we sold the barn,
So,
What
yeah,
would that
I guess that's the
You
next.
sold the property?
Yeah.
if we sold the barn and pasture, what would happen then?
Well, I'm not sure how it's all divided up. I mean,
Well, I mean-
a new owner would need a new waiver.
Well, would they be grandfathered?
Would it be grandfathered?
I don't think it would be.
It wouldn't be?
It's coming into play then.
Yeah.
The grandfathering part would be gone.
If we had a non-conforming use somewhere in a business in an area they shouldn't have business, and they sell
Because
it,
they're the good ones.
doesn't that non-conforming use go with the new owner?
The next person might not choose.
If you have a
Why would they buy a
non-conforming
barn?
use that is,
And
I'm sorry.
I hear you.
If you have a non-conforming use that is continual, for example, let me use the example of Paul Snapper area over on Southwest First Street. That was there before there was a zoning code, and that was allowed because it was a non-conforming use. As long as that non-conforming use continued, it was allowed to be passed down through successive owners, although it was
not in the same family or the same owner, as long as that,
Set empty.
as long as that was continual use. Once the last owner shut down the business and that non-conforming use was not used for a calendar year, the grandfather dissolved.
We want to do
So,
something
at
similar
this point in
with
time, that building, that even though it's a commercial building over there, it's in a residential area, it cannot be used for commercial purpose because it lost its grandfather.
Here's what I recommend at this point. We had a committee on this. And if something needs to be changed, we just need to table it and refer it back to committee and let the committee figure out what to do with it. I mean, this isn't the time to be making
Right.
minute changes to it, in my opinion.
I'll move that.
Okay. So then,
Save my breath.
we'll table this and refer it back to the committee. Yes, a motion to refer this back to the committee. Go ahead.
Wait, so we can't approve what we've got so far and just amend it later? Or,
And but why do that? I mean,
Well,
we'll
that's
get
true.
it done in total and, I mean, you know, this thing is one of those things that you're never gonna get language exactly the way.
I
You're never
agree.
gonna get it perfect.
Yeah.
We're trying to create something here to do away with the mess we've had in this community with regard to animals in residential areas, and I mean, it's just, it's insane.
yep,
And, you know, I don't know if you're ever gonna get absolutely perfect language.
Right.
But I'm happy to try, but I'm gonna need some guidance here, guys. I'm not drafting this, I'm putting together what the committee told me to do.
yeah, I mean,
I'd like to say, you know, the main concern I had was not only not being able to have livestock, but the evaluation of my property. And if this bill passed as it is, and I wasn't able to have livestock, my barn would be useless, my fence would be useless. And so, you know, what do I do with it? So I think that has to be a consideration. And even if I want to sell the property, do I tell the next people that, no, you can't use the barn for livestock? You know, I think that's something that needs to be clarified. Thank you.
Would you like to be on the committee?
Sure.
I mean, it's not a bad idea, you know, to have some other people involved.
I'd be happy to, yeah.
That kind of think about it from a different angle.
That could be affected, yeah.
Hmm?
People that can be affected.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got a motion to table.
Yes,
oh my gosh.
I'll second
okay, Councilman Earl makes a motion to table this and refer it back to the committee. Councilman Gress seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. We'll do that. Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 5-2022 and 6-2022. Tom Pittman sends a thing and said that these two ordinances, no action should be taken this evening on these two ordinances. He said we should, until after the meeting on the 14th, which was the EDC meeting. And then it comes back here the evening of the 14th, and then we bring it up for final approval on the 14th. I just got reading off his thing there, so that's why he suggested what needs to be done, because it needs to go to the EDC first. So the EDC will meet about that afternoon on the 14th.
So you're saying 5 and 6, right?
Yes, 5 and 6, yes.
Do we have to do anything to move that to the next meeting? Do we need a motion to do that?
I don't think so, do we, Tim? I don't think we have to have a motion to move that to the next meeting, we just don't act on it. Okay, all right, and then introduction of ordinance 7-2022.
I'll make a motion to read that ordinance.
Okay, Councilman Kemp makes a motion to read this ordinance, Councilman Lunsford seconds, all in favor? Opposed? Tim?
And as soon as I find it, I'll read it.
Okay, that's fine.
These are not, I was halfway organized this morning on this.
I think, yeah, I think.
Ordinance number 7-2022, an ordinance amending section 3 of ordinance number 4-2008, an ordinance establishing a park non-reverting operating fund. Whereas section 34.33 of the Washington Code of Ordinances was created by ordinance number 4-2008, adopted by the Washington Common Council on April 14, 2008. And whereas the purpose of said ordinance was to create a non-reverting operating fund for park purposes, and whereas the Washington Park and Recreation Board desires to expand the scope of said fund to permit the receiving of funds generated from events conducted by the City Department of Parks and Recreation, and to use any such funds for programs, activities, and events conducted by the City Department of Parks and Recreation for the citizens of Washington and surrounding areas. The Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana hereby ordains that Section 3 of said ordinance and code section shall read as follows. Section 3. The purpose of the fund shall be to receive funds generated from events conducted by the City Department of Parks and Recreation, which funds shall be used for events, programs, and activities for citizens of Washington and surrounding areas, which may involve the use of any or all of the city parks. Such activities and events may include cooking competitions, fishing derbies, other competitive events, and festivals, and any similar activity. This amendment shall take effect immediately upon passage. Passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Washington, Davies County, Indiana, this blank day, blank 2022.
Okay. Got anything you want to say on this, Kip, at all?
No, anybody got any questions of how it was written and why we changed it? I'll just go into a little bit of it. It was established for programs for 18 years and younger, which we don't do that anymore. So we wanted another ordinance for the barbecue cook-off of the donations we get for that, to be able to put that money into a pot and be able to use that for events. Our food trucks also, we get a donation from it, but if it goes into a specific category like it's been going, it's only used for East Side Park improvements. So it's not being able to pull that out and use it to get a band for Food Truck Tuesday or to do the barbecue cook-off event. So the verbiage, we took the verbiage out for events 18 and younger and took that out. Now we're able to use the same account that we already have established for this.
We just kind of broadened it a little bit. You know, it was just really vague, and we broadened it so we can use it for multiple.
And it really wasn't being used, was it?
No. No, I think there's $52 in that account that's been there since 08, 09.
Yeah, so, any other questions on this, or any questions for Kip? Or any of us? If not, this ordinance will be up for adoption next council meeting. Okay. Let's see, we got other business. This discussion and approval of the City of Washington annual report.
I sent that out to y'all prior to the weekend. I'm sure that that's how you spent your weekend. Really interesting. I need to know if you have any other questions or any explanations or anything on the report. I submitted it to the state board on the 22nd, and it has been published in the National Times for Saturday. Compliance on that. And if you don't have any questions, I would just ask that you make a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Councilman Campbell makes a motion to approve the annual financial report.
Seconded.
Second by Councilman Showalter, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, very good. Okay. And last on our agenda, I'm required to give my State of the City report that I'm prepared to give to council. 2021 State of the City address. Good evening. As I begin my State of the City address, after completing my second year as mayor of the City of Washington, I see many things within our community that continue to move forward in 2021. I will addressing a few of them throughout my address. As most everyone knows, last year's report, the administration had acquired two major projects. The first being the Business 50 project. This project started with phase 1 on the east side section roundabout, which had already been completed. Phase 2, the west side section of this project, this portion began on Southeast 3rd Street and proceeded west, stopping beyond 900 West National Highway. In March of 2020, we began the bid process for the $4.2 million project. In April of 2020, the city was awarded $408,302 from the Community Crossing Management Grant Fund. The project got underway in June of 2020 and was completed October 2021. The next major project was the completion of the $1.7 million wastewater phosphorus removal facility, completed in July of 2021. Both projects came in under budget, but was that said, we have unfortunately facing a lot of costly upgrades to the facility that had been neglected for several years. Other 2021 projects, the completion of the combined dispatch agreement was implemented on January 1st, 2022. The Downtown Commons project is underway with the design process, the demolition of the Napa building, and the laundromat relocation. There were a few other business projects and relocations that took place in 2021 as well. True Scripts expansion, Main Street Nutrition new location, It's a Wonderful World, a Wonderful Life relocation, Davis County Museum expansion, the bowling alley reconstruction, CSX Railroads, 12 new constructed railroad crossings, street paving totaling another $350,000 in 2021. Sidewalk replacement program is still vital to our citizens and still a vital part of our community. Domino's Pizza's new building, Daly's Furniture expansion, new pickleball courts at Longfellow Park, Williams Brothers True RX new building that's about ready to open, the dog park at the new dog park at South Park, and a new salt barn that was constructed. As you see, we continue to be very busy in 2021, accomplishing more of the goals that I had after taking office. We will continue to make strides going into 2022 and in the coming years, helping to improve our community. Next are some brief highlights of the department's annual reports that I wanted to share. This is a small portion of the accomplishments throughout 2021. If you'd like a complete copy of the department head's annual reports of 2021, please let our office know, and we'd be happy to make that happen for you. Animal Control Department, 700 animals were brought into the facility in 2021, with 55% coming from the city of Washington and 45% from surrounding areas. There are 34 dogs and cats adopted out of the shelter, and an additional 222 dogs and cats and 27 cats were sent to rescue. The Electric Department continues to upgrade the city current electrical grid, and with the current highway project, the relocation of existing power lines and the installation of the 3-phase for the new business on Highway 257 in the I-69 area, the projects totaled approximately $300,000 combined. A new dedicated line will be completed, and has been completed now, for the industrial park area this spring, which we will help eliminate power outages and could cost our commercial customers money in their everyday business operations. With IMPA's help, we are able to change out the 36-year-old main breaker on the 21st Street. This will solve problems with power outages that have been had over the past several years. The fire department responded to 822 runs in 2021, 458 being EMS related, 146 fire alarms, 37 vehicle accidents, 39 public service calls, and 155 other related runs. The fire department completed 1,100 hours of fire training, which included 3 firefighters attending rope rescue technician class in Indianapolis. The Parks Department, as always, the Parks crew was very busy again in 2021. Not to mention the daily maintenance of the parks, Eastside, Longfellow, South Park, which consisted of cleaning, mowing, trimming, and trash control. They also managed to help the Rotary Club with their annual cherry tree event. There were about 25 additional cherry trees planted throughout the park in 2021. Of course, At Christmas time, they worked very hard decorating a huge 85,000 lights throughout the park. The department hosted several events in 2021, which are always a big hit. A few of those will be in the food truck on Tuesdays, the 4th of July celebration, and the Christmas in the park. Also in 2021, the Eastside Park parking lot was completely repaved. The park office and the community building roofs were replaced. New pickleball courts were added to Longfellow Park with 8 playing surfaces, and a new dog park was completed at South Park. This crew also maintains the operations and grounds for the water park during the summer, which was reopened in 2021 after being closed due to COVID in 2020. The police department, in 2021, officers responded to 14,076 complaints, 1,330 911 calls, 666 EMS calls, 475 accidents, 1,020 total arrests, and 1,507 charges filed, and 3,074 total tickets issued. The assistant chief report showed that he had 1.95 training hours, secured over $16,000 in different grants, $16,000 in different grants, and made 5 trips to Evansville ISP to transport evidence. Detective Division has 3 detectives, and they logged 368.5 hours of continuing ed, working 211 investigations and completed 204 arrests at a rate of 96.6%. They had 17 call-outs, working 872 combined overtime hours and a total of 430 training hours. Detective Sergeant Garland continued to work with the DEA task force, logging 588 hours overtime in 2021. That led to the seizure of multiple amounts of drugs that were likely to supply Davis County. Total training hours was 3,434 for the police department, hours of training. Street department, MVH departments, the crew continued to provide a great service to the citizens, keeping the city clean from trash, leaves, limbs, and other household waste. In 2021, we continued with approximately $350,000 in street paving, restriped Main Street and the crosswalks, helping to keep downtown areas safe as well as clean and fresh for potential businesses. The new salt barn was constructed at a cost of $150,000, as well as updating the current break room and shop area to a more sufficient usage of storage and workspace. Also in 2021, for the first time, the city began to preservation treatments on newly paved streets, approximately 6.4 miles of crack seal, and put in place on city streets. The garbage and trash department in 2021, we continue to provide a great service to the citizens with providing services of limb removal, leaf collection, as well as collecting 147 Christmas trees to be used in local ponds. 280 tons of grass was recycled, 428 tons of wood chips, and 243 tons of compost. 769 trips were made to the landfill with 5,130 tons of household waste. All done in a budget balance of 8.6%. It was a great management on their budget. The transit department, last year GPS was installed on all 30 buses last year, giving dispatch real-time data on the location of the bus while improving the safety of the driver and the passengers. There are 247 operating days logged and a total of 928 riders. This was up slightly from 2021. COVID-19 had impacted daily transit routines. The recycle department, 7,465 residents and businesses utilized the recycling center in 2021. This was up 134 customers from 2020 with approximately 85 tons of cardboard, plastics, paper, books, steel, aluminum cans, and newspaper collected. All kept from going to the landfill, which is down slightly from 2020. Stormwater department completed 5 projects in 2021 at an approximate cost of $45,000. They also kept busy with their everyday CSO work schedule, which consists of lift stations, sinkholes, manholes, sewer cleanouts, the jet truck mains, catch basins, wetland maintenance, and etc. They recorded 161 overtime callouts and with a total of 376 man-hours in 2021. The street sweeper also collected 294 loads, maintaining 3,554 miles of city streets. Utility office, there were 98,466 bills processed in the department. They continue to log gas and diesel usage for off-road fuel tax refunds, totaling $4,562. Going back to the city, the utility office wrote off $78,051 in uncollectible accounts in 2014, 15, and 16, which includes accidents, bankruptcies, deceased customers, accounts $3,719 collected in small claims court, and sewer liens that was recovered $4,432 in small claims. $10,590 in sewer bills and $1,734.93 in outstanding accounts. Credit cards had an 35% increase in use from 2020. Also collected was $34,250 from tax refund exchange and compliance systems in 2021. The water department in 2021, there were several maintenance issues addressed. The installation of the new roof of the water plant and the lower administration and shop buildings that was overdue. There was also 34 normal leaks and the installation of 39 new service lines and the replacement of 6 valves, well fields maintenance, and cleaning the south well fields was also completed. HHW, in 2021, the COVID-19 pandemic dampened our ways of doing business and reflected our ability to how we dispose of HHW products, but saying that we will still handle 47,538 tons total hazardous waste, which is about half of 2020 numbers. This service that will provide for our community cost us approximately $31,000 to ship out chemicals. But the most important part of this service is keeping the product out of our local landfill. Wastewater, stormwater department, the report is like so many other departments with the COVID-19, with maintenance being a key component. With the retirement of our wastewater superintendent in October, the city is dealing with several issues by reconstructing the department. We needed to process 220,000 pounds of sludge so that we can manage this product with our own centrifuge. We repaired 4 water leaks on the property that will save the department roughly $4,000 a month in utility savings. We started an electrical maintenance upgrade program that should help reduce electrical failures. We have contacted our maintenance provider for the 3-year plan to bring the wetlands up to the current standards with IDEM. This is all costly, but very much needed or required. With this all said, we completed the new wastewater facility and moved into it in June of 2021. The building commissioner, as I highlight this report, 2021 was a productive year with permits totaling 323, 32 new home constructions with additional 44 home additions, and a total of 10 commercial buildings with an estimated value of $4.8 million. This is the 8th year for the sidewalk program with an increase of 13 residents. Taking advantage of this program with a total share split of $52,426.17. Over 258 inspections were made, and this department did 30 demolition permits in 2021. There are just a few things that these were just a few things that were accomplished in Washington in 2021, not counting the work we do for Davis County with issuing another 129 permits. Code enforcement, again, it was a thankless job, and Brent did a great job. There were 974 cleanup orders, 642 done by the citizens, and 232 completed by our street department. We had 285 trash orders. I think this shows our dedication in keeping Washington cleaner and a better place to live. He issued 255 abandoned vehicle notices, with only 11 having to be towed. This showing we are continuing to clean up the city of Washington. The IT department had 5 major projects in 2021, which included a city hall and utility office project, which was quite extensive. This makes dealing with the everyday needs from all departments throughout the city quite demanding. We also hired a new IT director this past year. Throughout my State of the City address, we continue talking about COVID-19, which began in late February 2020. It is something that I've never would have seen coming and couldn't imagine that after 2 years we would still be dealing with it. There were over 140 Davis County citizens that lost their life due to COVID-19, but we continue working hard through these challenges. I look for big things happening in 2022 for the City of Washington. Thank you for the City Council, Board of Public Works and Safety, our City Treasurer, and her staff, and our City Attorney for their support. I would also like to give a thanks to all my department heads, as well as all of our city employees who all serve the community so very well. A continued thank you goes out to my wife Darlene and the family for the continued support. I truly believe in our community and its future, and I will continue to work with the state and county government for our citizens in 2022. Let's all truly believe in our community, with all of us working for a better Washington. May God continue to bless the City of Washington and the United States of America. Thank you. Okay. Anybody in the audience got anything else for the council tonight? Okay, not hearing any. Councilman Grass, you got anything for the good of the order?
Other than, after listening to your report, I think we should commend all of the city employees and the families for putting up with them.
Yeah.
They do a lot of work.
They do good work, and it is a lot of numbers that, what else you can report on, but yeah, they do a great job and every day, so I'm very proud of them, so they do help a lot. Thank you. Councilman Dahl, you got anything? I don't have anything. Okay, Councilman Short? Councilman Grant? Kim, you got anything for us? No, I don't. Okay.
I got something. Number one, when will the pickle courts be open?
He left that, don't he? Maybe he's got another animal.
I don't know.
You really don't?
I really don't know. They're wanting to do a grand opening before they go and open them.
Okay.
They are sometime in March.
March.
Yeah.
Is what they've said. They haven't set a hard date, but sometime in March they will, and they'll be unlocked from there on out.
They didn't get to do one in the fall, and they really want to do one here in the spring. Of course, the weather is gonna, designate when they can do this, but yeah.
Then the second question is there a reason that basketball goal isn't getting fixed? Do they keep breaking it?
And they've shattered it, and I'm having a hard time finding a replacement for it.
Okay.
Without pulling the whole pole out and cutting concrete out and setting a new one.
Because
Right.
it's been that way for,
Right.
yeah, quite a while.
Yeah, it has been.
Then the other question, just curious, how many side-by-sides tags have you put out?
Well,
26.
26.
it's been kind of slow. I mean, I really.
Well, it is winter.
Yeah, and I did address a couple people. They asked how to do this, and me and the police chief got together, and I told them we'd rather have them. We want them to haul them into City Hall from the county. Haul them in, get their permits, do everything one day, have all the paperwork and everything, insurance papers they need. Go upstairs, get your permit, your sticker, and and then.
So is that the way you're gonna do the golf carts also from now on, where they bring them to the?
Well, in the city, the police officers usually make a point to go around.
So if it's in, that's why.
Yeah, and I told police chief right off the bat, I didn't want officers to go outside the county, because where do you stop at? And do that, so yeah.
I was just curious, after we did that, I was wondering if anybody was taking advantage of it.
Well, we've had a few people call, and I guess, being the end of February and 46, I guess that's not really too bad when you look at it, it's the end of February.
Most of the city residents that apply to the 26 are we don't, where they can.
Say that.
I don't know, it's hard to,
I'm just.
yeah, it's hard to follow.
We've sold more side-by-side permits than we have golf cart permits. I looked at that today. It was 26 for the side-by-side and 21 for the golf cart. So we have different vehicles on the road.
Well,
Be a close race.
yeah, yeah, the weather gets better, I'm sure we'll see more.
That's all I have.
Yeah, thank you. Councilman Emmons?
Want to again thank all the department heads and city employees for their hard work through the trying times.
Yeah.
And treasure hunt starts back up.
Yes.
Trying times.
Trying this weekend, yes. Yeah, they do a great job, and I tell them that all the time in their department head meetings, how much I appreciate what they do for the city. Councilman Lunsford?
I got nothing.
I think we addressed the couple of things we worked on, I think, on your neck of the woods. I think we got them taken care of. But
Yeah, there's I just sent John a couple questions.
Okay.
And a couple of videos,
Okay.
it's going good.
All right. If you have anybody, any of the councilmen, just let me know if you have any people contact you. Anything I can do to help. Beth, you got anything?
I do have one small thing. The next couple weeks, your reports are going to start looking different a little bit. We are going from a 3-digit fund number to a 4-digit fund number. We wanted to finish out the end of the year reports, get February closed out, and then we're going to into the 4-digit numbers, which are required by state boards. They want all of them standard, and we're trying to fit all of our funds into the boxes that they come to us. They'll look a little different. I will send out the reports before and after, so you'll have a comparison report, and hopefully a little cheat sheet to say that it was this fund before, now it's this fund. So, the general fund is the one that will change the least. They'll go from Fund 101 to Fund 1101, so anything in the general fund won't have that much change, but the rest of them are gonna have some changes, so. Wanted to let you know that's coming down the pipe.
Okay. All right. All right, anybody else got anything? Last call? Okay. Not hearing any, this meeting's gonna be adjourned. Board of Public Works in 5 minutes. Call the City of Washington Board of Public Works and Safety meeting, February 28, 2022, to order, please.
Next year.
Approval of minutes of the February 14, 2022 regular meeting that was sent to you.
I'll move for those.
Okay, Councilman Vidal makes a motion to approve, Councilwoman Ash seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion approval of claims submitted to you tonight. Any questions or concerns about those claims?
I'll move we approve them.
Councilman Ash makes a motion to approve the claims tonight, and Councilman Dahl seconds, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Discussion approval of all warrants and outstanding checks.
They look fine to me. I'll move we approve them.
I guess you got the,
I'll second that.
okay, Councilman Ash approves these outstanding checks, and Councilman Dahl seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Honestly, there's not, I mean, the dollar amount on those wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I got those late this afternoon, I really didn't get a good chance to look at them, but it's a lot smaller than I expected.
Kind of funny, the one on the back, I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
thank you.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, Randy Ennis is on there. We'll take it. If you guys don't want it, we'll take it.
Yeah, I wonder what happened there.
We'll probably make it somewhere else. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that, I mean, you know, you're used to seeing individuals, but that's kind of different. Okay, all right. And the last thing on the agenda tonight is a discussion approval of a rate contract with Raver Septic Tank Service. In the past, Scott always took care of this, and, you know, with Scott being gone, this was kind of sent to us kind of late. Raver sent it to us a little later than normal, I think. And it ended up out there, and they got it to me right off the bat, so I got it on this week's agenda. And I first thought, you know, I know there's a lot of hoops we jump through, and there's a lot of hoops they jump through. And I first got it, and I emailed David about it, thinking, you know. But then after I got looking into it, they do more business through us than I thought they did. So I was kind of surprised when I found out how much they do a month. So I kind of, you know, think, well,
they send the amount out to the utility office, and then they figure out a bill and send them the bill.
yeah, they do. Terry takes care of it.
Terry
Yes,
does.
yes, and it averaged about $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I was kind of surprised there when I found out that. But this contract is just like what we had in the past with Scott being in the helm, but it's from December 1st, 2021 to November 30th, 2022. And like I said, we just received this just recently, so they've still been going by the old contract. We just need to get this renewed and get it in place.
We approve it.
Okay, Councilman Dahl makes a motion to approve this contract for Raver Septic Tank Service.
And I'll second that.
And Councilwoman Ash seconds, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And anybody in the audience got anything for the Board of Works tonight? Okay. Nita, you got anything else?
No.
David?
I don't have anything.
Ted, you got anything? Yeah.
No.
Okay. Hearing none, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you.